Right now, in major cities all across the United States, commercial developers are, well, they're actively destroying their own skyscrapers.
Yeah, it's really something.
It is. I mean, for the first time in at least a quarter of a century, America is systematically deleting more office space from the map than it is building.
Right.
And we aren't just talking about companies, leaving a few desks empty on a Friday. We are talking about a physical, concrete, and steel demolition of the 9-to-5 workday.
The scale of the reversal is just staggering. I mean, according to the 2025 reporting from CoStar, over 60 million square feet of office space.
Wow.
Yeah, 60 million. It's on track to be permanently removed from the commercial market this year alone.
That is insane.
It really is. Demolitions, structural conversions, massive corporate consolidations, they are entirely outpacing new builds.
So the whole trend is just flipped.
Exactly. The momentum of the last several decades, that relentless drive to build bigger, taller, wider corporate footprints, it's simply stopped. In many major economic hubs, the machine has actually been thrown into reverse.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. If you are, say, a remote worker managing your entire career through digital channels, or a director trying to figure out how to maintain a cohesive team across 3 time zones,
or even just someone who vividly remembers the daily ritual of a grinding commute.
Right, exactly. If that's you, this intelligence is for you. Our mission today is to unpack this fascinating source piece from Stella Pop. It exposes a massive structural shift happening in commercial real estate and, well, corporate culture as a whole.
Yeah, it really digs into why the traditional office model is officially being buried under a pile of rubble.
Okay, let's unpack this. What is the catalyst for 60 million square feet just vanishing right now?
So we're basically looking at a collision between shifting human behavior and, frankly, obsolete architectural supply.
Obsolete supply?
Yeah, the Stella Pop piece makes this really sharp observation. Demand for how we use space is changing rapidly, right? It's driven by hybrid models, distributed teams, all of that.
Sure, that makes sense.
But the core issue driving this massive reduction is the quality of the existing space itself. The millions of square feet disappearing from the ledger, they aren't the modern, hyper-efficient, light-filled architectural marvels.
Ah, okay.
The market is purging the older, functionally dead spaces.
I want to push back on that premise a little bit, though. Like that this is just a natural real estate correction.
Okay, go for it.
Because when you see a number like 60 million square feet vanishing,
Yeah.
the immediate cultural assumption is just, well, remote work won.
Right, everyone just stayed home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody took their laptops home to their living rooms,
Yeah.
so the buildings naturally emptied out.
Yeah.
Are we really saying this is an architectural failure, or did the physical office just, lose a turf war to the internet?
It's a structural failure of the spaces themselves. It's not just a shift in where your laptop sits.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, consider the commercial architecture of the 1980s and 1990s. Those buildings feature incredibly deep floor plates.
Meaning they're just super wide.
Exactly. They were engineered specifically to pack as many middle management cubicles into the center of the room as legally permissible.
Oh, wow. And entirely cut off from natural light, I'm guessing.
Completely cut off. And they rely on these massive centralized HVAC systems designed to run at maximum capacity for a floor of like 300 sweating bodies.
Right.
So when only 30 people show up on a Tuesday, those outdated systems just can't adapt.
They're still blasting air for 300 people.
Yes, they blast freezing air, they consume massive amounts of energy, and the physical environment becomes actively hostile to the few people actually working there.
So you have a space that is not only miserable to sit in, but it's bleeding capital to maintain.
Exactly.
It makes me think of like someone buying a massive, sprawling 10-bedroom mansion.
Right.
But they live completely alone, like they only ever sleep in one room.
That's a great way to put it.
And from the street, it looks incredibly impressive. Right?
Yeah.
And maybe the owner gets a little ego boost from the sheer scale of the property line.
Sure.
But behind closed doors, they are paying commercial property taxes, heating, cooling, and maintenance for 9 empty rooms they never even walk into.
Yeah, and at a certain point, funding that ego trip becomes a fiduciary failure.
Precisely.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the corporate mindset has completely flipped on this issue.
How so?
For decades, sheer square footage was considered a premier business asset. A sprawling headquarters was the ultimate physical proxy for market dominance.
Right, like look how big our building is.
Exactly. You leased it, you held it, you displayed it. Today, the market views that exact same square footage as a severe liability.
A financial anchor.
Totally. The fixed costs of maintaining millions of square feet of unutilized, inefficient space are dragging down profit margins. So the market is aggressively correcting the excess.
Okay, so if companies are ditching these million-dollar leases and shedding the liability, the immediate collateral damage has to fall on the landlords and the developers.
Oh, heavily.
Because you can't just delete a skyscraper with a keystroke. So what are the developers actually doing with these massive empty glass boxes?
Well, developers are being forced into what the Stellapop intelligence calls architectural Tetris.
Architectural Tetris. I like that.
It's very accurate. They aren't just bringing in wrecking balls for every property. They are actively trying to transform these obsolete commercial spaces into entirely new ecosystems.
Like what?
Primarily apartments, hotels, and mixed-use residential properties. In major economic hubs like New York, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C., these conversions are acting as vital economic lifelines.
For neighborhoods that would otherwise become ghost towns.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The source talks about these transformations not just as like structural renovations, but as dramatic identity shifts.
Yes.
They describe taking a highly formalized, stuffy law firm floor and completely transforming it into a series of luxury lofts with sweeping skyline views.
Right.
Or taking a lifeless, abandoned tech corridor and morphing it into a vibrant co-living and retail hub.
And the engineering required to achieve that identity shift is incredibly complex.
I would imagine.
Because a commercial building is designed around a mechanical core. You have centralized elevators, centralized plumbing, and communal bathrooms.
Right. The bathrooms are all in the middle by the elevator.
Exactly. But residential living requires decentralized infrastructure.
Oh, yeah. Everyone needs their own bathroom.
And their own kitchen. Getting individual plumbing, climate control, and water lines to 80 different apartment units on a single floor requires coring through feet of reinforced concrete.
Wow. Right, you can't just throw up some drywall around a former cubicle farm and call it a two-bedroom apartment.
Precisely. And this goes back to those deep floor plates we discussed earlier. Residential building codes mandate that bedrooms must have exterior windows for egress and natural light.
Makes sense. Nobody wants a windowless bedroom.
But if you have a commercial building that is 200 feet wide, you can put apartments along the glass perimeter, but you are left with a massive windowless dark core in the center of the building.
I see. What do they do with that?
That's the challenge, finding a profitable use for that dead space, whether it's interior storage, fitness centers, or mechanical routing. That is the defining puzzle of architectural Tetris.
The source has a brilliant way of framing this. They call it commercial real estate's version of a personal rebrand.
I love that comparison.
It's out with the Brooks Brothers suits, in with the bonobos. The buildings are shedding that rigid, formal corporate uniform for something far more flexible, highly tailored, and suited to how modern urban populations actually want to live.
But shedding that rigid corporate uniform introduces the next major variable.
Yes.
If all these sprawling, outdated offices are becoming luxury lofts and retail hubs, organizations still require physical space for their teams to gather, right?
Right, they can't exist entirely in the cloud.
Exactly. So what exactly is absorbing the demand left behind by the vanished 60 million square feet?
The twist here is that nothing of equal size is replacing it.
Right.
Instead of one company holding a massive, static 20,000 square foot lease for 10 years, we are seeing the rise of the space as a service model.
Yes.
Companies are pivoting to co-working setups, hoteling models where employees book a desk only for the days they need it, and highly flexible short-term lease agreements.
They're also decentralizing. Instead of forcing everyone to commute to a single downtown monolith, organizations are looking into hub-and-spoke models.
Meaning a central headquarters, the hub, with smaller dedicated satellite offices, the spokes, placed closer to the suburbs or specific neighborhoods where their employees actually live.
That's the exact structure. It distributes the footprint. The central hub is retained for major client meetings and company-wide summits, while the spokes act as accessible collaboration zones that don't require an hour-long commute.
I have to challenge this model, though, because I know a lot of leaders listening are thinking the exact same thing right now.
Bring it on.
I buy that companies want the financial flexibility of shorter leases. That makes sense. But how does this space as a service concept solve the actual work problem?
What do you mean?
Well, if my engineering team is in a co-working space on Tuesday, my marketing team is in a suburban spoke on Thursday, and everyone else is in their living rooms. Haven't we just destroyed our company culture to save a few bucks on a lease?
It's a valid fear.
We're trading a unified physical identity for a fragmented gig worker vibe.
What's fascinating here is that the financial math and the cultural reality actually support each other, provided the leadership is intentional about it.
Okay, explain that.
Stella Pop breaks down the baseline logic. Why pay the overhead for 20,000 square feet when your utilization data proves you only ever need 8,000 at any given time?
True.
Especially when half of that larger space was historically occupied by a rotating cast of remote workers who conduct 90% of their business in Slack and Zoom anyway.
Right. Like we said earlier, you are paying $80 a square foot to house ghosts.
Exactly. And reallocating that capital is how you save the culture.
By spending it on the people.
By reducing the fixed costs of a massive lease, a company gains the agility to invest in the quality of the smaller spaces they do keep. They can afford the premium co-working memberships. They can afford to design a highly specific, high-end collaboration hub. You are trading a large quantity of mediocre space for a smaller quantity of exceptional space.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And this shift in the real estate math leads directly into what might be the most profound insight from the Stella Pop piece.
The redefinition of work itself.
Yes, we are seeing a complete philosophical redefinition of what the word work actually means. Going to work used to mean traveling to a specific geographic coordinate.
A physical destination.
Right. It meant a commute, a physical badge swipe, and a nameplate on a door. The location was the container for the job.
And the source argues that today work is a login, it is a mindset, it is a flow state. The act of working has been completely decoupled from the geography.
Which really exposes the danger for organizations that refuse to adapt, doesn't it?
Oh, massively.
If you are a traditionalist leader who forces everyone back to the old static space model, just because you hold a long-term lease, you are engineering a morale crisis.
You really are.
There's a specific heavy psychology to a ghost town office.
Yeah.
When you walk into a floor built for 200 people, and there were only 14 employees scattered across this vast, silent, fluorescent expanse, the acoustics alone are depressing.
It's eerie.
You can hear every keyboard click and every sigh. It actively drains human motivation.
It engineers sensory isolation under the guise of collaboration.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. Sensory isolation.
The organizations thriving right now have recognized this. They no longer treat office space as a default requirement, like a box to check, because that's how business has always been done.
Right.
They treat physical space as a highly specific strategic tool. You don't use a hammer to turn a screw, and you don't use a desk in a silent room to force collaboration.
Right.
When space is used as a tool for intentional gathering, it builds culture. When it's used as a mandate, it boards resentment.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We understand the macro real estate shift. We see the architectural constraints of the Tetris developers are playing, and we grasp the philosophy of work as login.
But we need to make it practical.
Exactly. So put me in the hot seat. Let's say I am a mid-market CEO. I have a traditional 20,000 square foot office downtown.
Okay.
My lease is up for renewal in 8 months, and my hybrid team is incredibly anxious about what comes next. How do I actually apply this Stella Pop intelligence without making a catastrophic real estate error? Walk me through their playbook.
Well, the source outlines 5 specific steps for leaders in exactly your position.
Let's hear them.
Step 1 is to audit your real estate footprint. And as a CEO, this does not mean looking at your floor plan and your rent per square foot.
What does it mean then?
It means auditing human behavior.
Yeah.
Pull your badge swipe data. Track network logins by physical location.
Oh, look at what they're actually doing.
Exactly. You need hard data on what percentage of your space is genuinely buzzing with active collaboration versus what zones are sitting completely vacant for 4 days a week. Find the friction points where the space is failing the team.
Okay, so I gather the data and realize my massive central bullpen is mostly empty, but people are fighting over the 3 small conference rooms we have.
Right.
That leads me to step 2. Reimagine the purpose of this space. If my office isn't an everyday factory floor where people come to put their heads down and type, what is it?
Well, Stella Pop suggests it might need to evolve into a brand center or a dedicated onboarding hub. They use the phrase culture building clubhouse.
I like that. A clubhouse implies a destination you choose to visit for connection, not a holding pen you are mandated to sit in.
Spot on. And once you define that new purpose, you move to step 3. Explore flexible models. As the CEO, you don't have to sign another 10-year static lease.
Thank goodness.
Look at the data you gathered in step 1. Does your team live in the suburbs? Implement the hub and spoke model we discussed. Do you have a highly mobile sales team? Look into managed offices or enterprise co-working agreements that allow you to scale your desk count up or down quarter by quarter.
Okay, then step 4 is where I think most companies fail, and it's heavily emphasized in the text. Invest in experience.
Yes.
Because if I'm going to ask my team to leave their perfectly customized home setups, fight traffic, and commute to this new clubhouse, the physical destination has to be vastly superior to what they have at home.
It has to earn the commute.
Exactly. The source points out that environmental design is critical. Natural light is no longer a perk, it is a requirement. Premium technology integration is mandatory.
And my favorite detail from the piece.
The chewing thing.
Yes, it's incredibly relatable. The need for acoustic engineering. The glorious ability to not hear a colleague chewing their lunch 2 desks away is paramount to a successful modern office.
I mean, it sounds like a minor annoyance, but acoustic privacy is a major driver of office dissatisfaction, like hearing someone crunching on an apple.
Oh, it's huge. The open plan offices of the last decade were sensory nightmares. People were putting on noise-canceling headphones just to simulate the privacy of a private office.
Right.
If you are designing an experience, you have to engineer for sensory comfort, which leads directly to the final phase, step 5. Stay future-ready.
Adaptability.
Exactly. The destruction of those 60 million square feet proves that the market is ruthless to obsolete models. Adaptability is the ultimate currency. Whatever flexible model you choose today, you must build in mechanisms to evaluate and change it 2 years from now.
So to bring all of this together, what we are witnessing on the skyline is not just the demolition of outdated buildings. We're watching the demolition of an outdated operating system for human labor.
That's a powerful way to summarize it.
The office as a concept is not dead. Humans are social creatures, you know. We will always need spaces to gather, to whiteboard complex problems, and to build trust in person. But that static, one-size-fits-all, mandated 5-day-a-week model, that is permanently buried under a pile of rubble.
This raises an important question, though, a thread for our listeners to pull on as they evaluate their own organizations.
What's that?
Well, the source made the compelling argument that work is now a login and a flow state rather than a physical address.
Right.
But if physical space is no longer the primary container for a company's culture, how intentionally are we designing our digital spaces?
Oh, wow.
Think about it. If we simply take the rigid top-down communication habits of the old cubicle maze and map them directly onto Slack, Zoom, and Teams, aren't we just building virtual cubicles?
That is a great point.
If we aren't careful with our digital architecture, we will end up feeling just as trapped, siloed, and uninspired online as we did under those old fluorescent lights.
That is a phenomenal and slightly terrifying thought to leave on. Are we just building virtual cubicles with our software? Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take a hard look at whatever space you are occupying right now, whether you are managing a team in a new culture-building clubhouse, logging in from a suburban spoke, or sitting in a home office. Ask yourself if the space is actively serving your goals, or if you are just paying the taxes on an empty mansion. Until next time, keep questing the baseline and keep learning.